We're in the midst of the Winnipeg Baroque Festival, and since March 30th, music lovers have been treated to a banquet of pre-1750 masterpieces. Coming up this Friday, April 4th at 7 p.m. at All Saints Anglican Church, Winnipeg's Nonsuch Ensemble invites audiences to shake off the winter's chill and welcome spring with a concert called Le Printemps. Bursting with the vitality of the French and German Baroque, this is going to be a wonderful concert. The program features a vibrant selection of works by Julie Pinel, Jean-Baptiste Drouart de Bousset, and Joseph Bodin de Boismortier, alongside beloved favorites by Bach and Handel. Expect an evening of elegance, drama, and musical discovery. Renowned for their historically informed performance on period instruments, the Nonsuch Ensemble brings centuries-old music to life with authenticity and flair. The group, soprano Katy Hedalen, cellist Blair Burns, flute player Nancy Hennen, and harpsichordist Carol Piller delves into the vast array of Baroque repertoire from treasured classics to hidden gems. Set against the stunning backdrop of All Saints Anglican Church, this intimate concert is a perfect way to breathe in the purity of Baroque chamber music and the fresh air of spring. And joining me here in the Classic 107 studio to talk about their upcoming concert on Friday, April 4th, I am joined by three members of the Nonsuch Ensemble: cellist Blair Burns, soprano Katy Hedalen, and harpsichordist Carol Piller. Hello to all of you. Great to have you here.
Hi, Chris.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so the first thing I got to ask is, where does the name come from, the Nonsuch Ensemble? Is it named for the ship, or is it literally meaning the model of excellence or perfection of kind?
Oh, you did your homework. I think I can probably speak to this a bit. So I really like the Nonsuch name because of its position in Manitoba history, and of course the date that it arrived in on Hudson Bay, and the spirit of trade and just exploration. And it was a very small ship, a ketch, I believe. So we are also a small little ship with very few crew members, and we are also explorers of that era. So I thought it was a very good name to reflect.
And from what I understand, it was like one of the first ships that helped create the Hudson Bay Company, right?
It is. It predated the Hudson Bay Company a little bit, but they certainly were tied. Yep.
Nancy Hennen is the flute teacher out at Brandon University, which is why she couldn't be here today. How did the four of you learn about each other, and how did you all decide to start playing music together?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a bit of a process to collect us all up. Nancy and Blair and I started in a different group for a bit and got to really enjoy playing together. And then just in the last year or so, we found out that Katy was here in town and wanting to do some Baroque singing with us, and we're just so excited that she was able to join us for this concert.
And Katy, what's been like for you for singing with the group?
It's been fantastic. It's been really fun. It's been really nice to work with people that are as interested in historic performance as I am. So at our rehearsals, we have lots of discussions about ornamentation, improvisation, how we would approach where the beats are, for example, in the bar. And it's been fun working with the continuo section, as well as bringing Nancy in when she's able to come in from Brandon.
I have to say, the sound of the harpsichord, voice, flute, and continuo, for me, I always think of it as sort of being a French sound. I know Telemann and Bach wrote music for this kind of an ensemble as well, but I just imagine Louis XIV walking around the Palace of Versailles, hearing this music. It must not be that difficult to find repertoire for this setup, is it?
Oh, it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere.
Yeah.
We have to be a bit careful. I especially have to be a bit careful because in French music, they often use the viola da gamba, which is a bit softer. I do have a Baroque cello, but even so, I have to be pretty careful to not overpower things. And with harpsichord, well, I guess you've got the continuo harpsichord, which is a bit different from some of the solo ones.
I do. I have an Italian-style harpsichord that's more suitable for playing an ensemble. It has a very bright, crisp sound to it, and it makes it much easier for the other ensemble members to hear what's going on in the harpsichord.
Mm-hmm. There are some deep pulls on this concert. There's music by Julie Pinel, a composer I'd never heard of before. There's music of Jean-Baptiste Drouart de Bousset, I'm pretty sure I'm butchering his name, and Boismortier. How did you all learn about these composers and their music?
Mostly just by poking around and finding things on YouTube and other streaming things and saying, or listening to other ensembles and seeing what they're doing. Julie Pinel is one of those interesting female composers that we hadn't run across before. We know very little about who she was, or they don't even know her dates of birth and death. They just know that she was alive during a certain period. But she was a member of a musical family and part of the court in France, and published this group of 37 pieces, of which we're doing the one entitled Le Printemps.
Mm-hmm. We, at least three of us here in the room, have a mutual friend, sadly passed away, Eric Lucet. Eric was a wonderful harpsichordist, and he was also a fan of French music. Carol, did he influence you in going into this?
Big time. I don't know how you can be a harpsichordist and not absolutely adore the French music and the French style. The writing they do for the harpsichord is just so luscious and warm, and it's just so much fun to explore it on the harpsichord and try and pull all the beautiful sound out of the instrument. And Eric was absolutely brilliant, and I miss him dearly.
Yeah, as do I. Mm-hmm.
He had coached us a couple of times, and it was just wonderful to work with him.
Yeah, just like this bottle of energy.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you had energy to burn. Yeah. One of the things about playing music that's sort of off the beaten path is that there's very few models for interpretation. So in rehearsal, how do you figure out interpretation? Things like tempo, ornamentation, dynamics. How does that work?
Well, it's pretty collaborative, I'd say. The music almost plays itself. I mean, you can try something a bit slower or faster, and it's just not going to feel right. And for dynamics, it's a very different experience using Baroque instruments. You don't have the power that a modern instrument will have. On the cello, you don't have the steel or the tungsten strings even, and you've got to be a little more sensitive just to get the string to speak. I've never experienced such a thick string as my pure gut G string. It takes a bit of effort to get it to just ring nicely, I'll say that.
Mm-hmm. And Katy, how about you? Like, how much ornamentation are you doing in the vocal part?
As much as I possibly can. I absolutely adore ornamentation. And to speak to your question earlier, Carol and I had a discussion about looking at some treatises of harpsichords for what the ornamentations were, what some of the markings are. Nancy, I know, was looking at her flute treatises. I look at violin ones to see what was indicated there, vocal sources, Grove's Dictionary, and of course talking with the teachers that I work with. They're of course a big source of inspiration and information.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk about the cantata Le Printemps by Boismortier. I was doing some reading about it, and apparently it belongs to a set of 4 cantatas that are collectively known as the Seasons. Katy, for you as a singer, what do you love about performing it?
Oh, it is a great piece, and it's been such a surprise. I'd never sung any Boismortier before. The imagery, we are inviting spring and using lots of Roman mythology with that. And then there's the play on the Roman mythology along with the dance and the joy and the sense of love that spring brings. And each aria has its own feel. Each recitative has its own feel. The recitative itself is extremely interesting. It's very different than Handel or Monteverdi in that much more of it is accompanied, and there's very specific rhythmic cues that took us a while to really get correct, I would say. And what Blair was saying earlier about tempo, a lot of the tempi in that piece are really determined by the dense rhythmic, the dense rhythmics in the continuo that are reflected in the voice part. So there's also a lot of indicated ornamentation in the Boismortier, where there's trills and mordants, which a lot more than I've seen, and not necessarily in the same way as, say, Italian or German.
Yeah, it's just a wonderful cantata. Can you talk about the music of Julie Pinel? Give me the elevator pitch. I'd never heard of her. Why is she so awesome? Can you talk about her a bit?
Do you want to take this, Carol? Maybe you can do a joint elevator pitch.
It's a fabulous piece. So it really features the flute and the soprano in equal parts. So the piece the flute is basically a nightingale. And so Nancy's imitating birdsong, and then the soprano part is responding to the bird and saying and talking about how beautiful it is and how much they would like to be the bird and all that. So there's this beautiful conversation between the flute and the soprano as they play off one another.
Fantastic. Throughout the program, there's this wonderful sense of beauty and intimacy with this kind of an ensemble. I was listening to some of the music of Bousset. The music is gorgeous. What are you performing of his?
The Bousset is just Nancy with a very simple accompaniment just by me for this one.
On viola again?
Yeah, on cello.
Cello, yeah.
Yep. I've seen it performed with like a theorbo or a lute. We don't have one of those, so I'm going to do my best.
Speaking of continuo parts, one of the things I'm always fascinated with Baroque ensembles is the continuo players. Blair, you're playing Baroque cello, and Carol, you're going to be playing harpsichord. First thing, are you going to be reading figured bass? And if so, can you talk a little bit about what figured bass is?
Sure, yeah. Figured bass is a big part of being a harpsichordist. So the continuo itself is a group, in our case, just the two players, cello, a bass instrument, and a chordal instrument, so typically a harpsichord and a cello. So with my left hand, I'm doubling the cello line. So that reinforces the bass and the foundation of the music. And then the right hand is improvising the chords over top of the bass line. So what happens in the music, and it's just a shorthand or a code almost, where the composers will write a series of numbers underneath the bass line that tell the harpsichordist what the harmonies are over top.
Yeah.
So, and it's really fun, actually. It's very creative because you have to look at the piece of music and ask yourself, where do we need some emphasis? Where do we need to show the gestures in the music and give it the right feel? So the continuo in itself, I really think of as like the backbone of the music.
Yeah, and for our Classic 107 listeners, figure bass is something all first-year music students have to learn to live with and learn how to harmonize. I have very, fond memories of staying up till 2 a.m. doing my harmony assignments with the figure bass. It's a real skill to be able to read it. And Blair, so I guess you're just playing literally the bass part. You're not going to be putting any ornaments on it at all?
Very few. I try to mimic when it makes sense. But what I do is more... I can add a bit more emotion. I'm the sustainer, and I can add some spark or some swells where the harpsichord can't. The harpsichord can do other things,
right?
And I provide that sustain, I guess.
The program doesn't only consist of French music. There's also music of Handel and Bach on the program as well. I have to say, I hit a roadblock when it came to background information on the Handel. Help me out with the pronunciation. Pensieri Notturni di Figli? Is that right?
Yeah.
Near as I can figure, it's a secular cantata. What was it written for? And what's it about?
Gosh, that is a great question. I can't remember the precise details, but it's part of a series that Handel wrote that were obviously intended to be secular. And this is one of these things where I'm going to try and recall my information, and not sure if it's entirely accurate, but that it was intended to be performed more in the sitting rooms or the gathering rooms of people when they got together, using, of course, the harpsichord or continuo and the flute or recorder, as the case would have been, both of which were popular instruments at the time.
So it's a salon music?
Of a sort, the Handel version of, let's say, yes. I think of salon as a little bit later, but yes, intended to be more of a popular consumption.
Yeah, it's a beautiful piece. I listened to it this morning. Blair, I got to say, I'm super jealous of cellists and violinists because Bach wrote all this wonderful music for solo cello and solo violin. It's part of your DNA. I just imagine a cellist putting on a recital. He could just go with a couple of Bach suites and call it a day, and there you have it. You're playing Bach's first cello suite. Has your interpretation of that piece changed since I would imagine you would have learned it in your teens?
Oh, you're absolutely right. And it's changed dramatically, absolutely. I learned from, my teacher was a student of Leonard Rose, who was also Yo-Yo Ma's teacher. And mid-20th century cello playing was not particularly historically informed. I grew up listening to Yo-Yo Ma and his Bach cello suites, and I still love them. You can't beat them. They're so musical. And I also wanted to incorporate some of the things I've learned in the meantime with the historically informed performance practice. It's very different. It's mostly, it's all in the bow, right? How you articulate, how you phrase. So that's my journey, and we'll see where that ends up being on Friday.
So you're going to, are you going to be thinking about more about some of the dances that...
Absolutely, yeah. The dance
and
movements.
The style?
And the bowing that reflects that, the articulations, and just taking more time and doing it more as speech rather than just this long flowing line of beautiful 20th century cello playing that 20th century cellos lend themselves to.
Yeah, like the Yo-Yo Ma recording. It's very beautiful and romantic.
Yes.
The concert is going to be both gorgeous and, like I say, intimate. It's a wonderful space that you're going to be performing in. What are you all looking forward to about Friday? Blair, I'll start with you.
I'm just looking forward to sharing all the work we've done with hopefully some appreciative people and supportive people in that beautiful space. Even though we are a chamber group, All Saints has some magical ability to just fill itself with whatever however little noise we make.
And Katy, how about you?
I'm hoping to introduce this music, especially the French vocal music, to people that have possibly never heard it before. I'm also very interested in people hearing the Bach cello suite played on a Baroque cello, harpsichord music played on a harpsichord. The flute that Nancy's playing is a traverso, which is the precursor to the modern flute. So there's a very different sound, and it sounds so beautiful in All Saints. And you can see and hear the music, how it's written. It's much softer and warmer, and it's like nothing I've ever really heard before. Aside from being with Baroque instruments. So I'm hoping that people will be able to come out and hear that and hear the difference that we have.
And Carol, lastly?
I'm not sure what I can add to all that. I'm looking forward to listening to my colleagues play all their wonderful instruments and to Katy singing some fantastic music.
Just four friends getting together and playing some wonderful music. That's going to be great. Blair, Carol, and Katy, this has been so wonderful to have you here in studio to talk about the Nonsuch Ensemble's concert, Le Printemps. It sounds like a wonderful way to spend a Friday night in Winnipeg. All the best, and thanks so much for taking the time to stop by and talk to me today. It's been wonderful.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks,
Chris.
For our Classic 107 listeners, the Nonsuch concert Le Printemps takes place this Friday, April 4th at 7 p.m. at All Saints Anglican Church. For more details, visit winnipegbaroquefestival.com or go to classic107.com. I've embedded a direct link to the show page in the article about the concert you can find up there now. Carol, Blair, and Katy, thanks again.